Commander Ashtar Sheran has just revealed 7 protocols to be followed before the planetary transition. And perhaps you think you have time to execute them. You do not. The transition is not approaching the way a season approaches, gradually, with signs you can afford to watch from a comfortable distance. It is approaching the way a threshold approaches, a line that once crossed cannot be uncrossed, and on which side of it you are standing when it arrives will be determined entirely by whether these 7 protocols are in motion in your life or not. The first protocol is this: resolve your outstanding issues with the people closest to you. And I want you to hear the full weight of what that means, because this includes the people who think you are crazy. The ones who change the subject when you try to explain what you understand about what is actually happening in this universe. The ones who sent you articles written by people who have never looked past the surface of anything. Ashtar was specific. He did not say resolve your issues with the people who agree with you. He said the people closest to you, all of them. Your doctor calls what you have been feeling anxiety, or sensitivity, or a phase you are going through. That is not what this is. The heaviness you carry when you think about that unresolved relationship, the one that just came to mind when I said the words outstanding issues. That is your field identifying an anchor, something tethering you to a timeline you are trying to leave. And the transition does not wait for anchors to dissolve on their own. It arrives, and the field either moves with it, or it does not. Here is what makes this transmission different from every other warning that has circulated about the transition. Ashtar did not transmit these protocols as spiritual advice. He transmitted them as operational directives. There is a difference between a teacher offering guidance and a commander issuing a field report. This was a field report. The 7 protocols are not suggestions for living a more conscious life. They are the specific outstanding business that, unresolved, will determine which earth you wake up on when the window closes. If you are feeling something in your chest right now, a tightening, a recognition, the face of a specific person who appeared in your mind when Protocol 1 was named, that is not coincidence. That is your field already running the diagnostic. It already knows. It has known for a long time. What has been missing is not the knowing. What has been missing is the clarity that the timeline is real, the window is specific, and the unresolved thing you just thought about is precisely what Ashtar is pointing at. The planetary transition to the 5th dimension is not a metaphor. It is not a collective belief system that makes people feel better about a difficult world. It is a documented, monitored, coordinated process that has been underway for decades and is now in its final phase. The Galactic Federation has been tracking it. The Arcturian sphere has been recalibrating human nervous systems to handle the frequency increase it produces. The Pleiadian High Council has been transmitting the emotional preparation code since the 1980s. And Ashtar Sheran, from the command level of the fleet, has now named the 7 specific things that the ground crew, the people watching transmissions like this one at hours when the rest of their household is asleep, must address before the final phase completes. Protocol 1 requires more than I gave it in the opening because the version that is easy to hear is not the version Ashtar transmitted. The easy version is, make peace with your loved ones, clear the air, have the conversations you have been postponing. That is true. But the harder version, the one he named with full command authority, is this: you must resolve the outstanding issues with the people who dismissed you, not for their sake, for your field. Because every unresolved relationship, regardless of who was right and who was wrong, is a frequency cord running between your energy field and that person's field. And that cord is anchored in the old timeline. As long as it is active, part of your field cannot move. I want to be straight with you about what I think this means because I know how it lands. You have spent years developing an understanding of reality that the people closest to you refuse to engage with seriously. Some of them were condescending about it. Some of them were genuinely worried about you. Some of them simply could not hear it because the framework they were living inside had no room for what you were saying. And now Ashtar is asking you to clear the outstanding issues with those same people, not to convert them, not to relitigate who was right, to release the energetic charge from the unresolved interaction, because that charge is yours to carry whether the other person ever understands a single thing you know. Protocol 2. Complete the thing you have been knowing you are supposed to do. This is the one Ashtar named as the most quietly devastating form of ground crew suppression, because it does not announce itself as suppression. It announces itself as responsibility, as realism, as the practical necessity of handling your obligations before you handle your mission. The specific creative work, the specific service, the specific expression of why you actually came here. That thing has been waiting in the back of your life while everything else took priority. Ashtar said, that order was installed. The world was designed to make the mission feel like a luxury. It is not a luxury. It is the only thing that, when withheld, makes everything else in your life feel slightly wrong regardless of how well the other pieces are functioning. Protocol 3 is the body. And here I want to use the Arcturian translation, because they are more precise about this than any other council. They said, the physical symptoms you have been managing, the sleep that does not restore, the inflammation without a satisfying explanation, the exhaustion that accumulates faster than rest can address it, are not signs that your body is failing. They are the body's record of a frequency upgrade that has been running without the supporting protocols in place. The body is trying to shift. The unresolved material in the other protocols is creating resistance that the body is absorbing. Address the protocols and the body's situation changes, not because the symptoms were imaginary, but because they were downstream of something that has now been named. Here is what the Galactic Federation has transmitted regarding these first 3 protocols and the people in this audience specifically. They said the ground crew in the United States, in places like Arizona, Colorado, Texas, the rural South, the Pacific coastline, carries a particular combination of mission clarity and structural isolation. They see clearly. They feel the transition in their bodies, and they are surrounded by people who are not yet having the same experience. That isolation is not random and it is not permanent, but it creates a specific vulnerability to protocol delay, because every protocol requires some degree of action in a world that is still operating by the rules of the old timeline. The courage to act in that gap is exactly what the transition is asking the ground crew to demonstrate. If what you have just heard names something real in you, if the weight of an unresolved relationship or the ache of a withheld mission landed in your body during these last few minutes, I want to tell you about something that was built for what comes after the naming. What the Galactic Federation wants you to know is in the first pinned comment below. It contains the Sovereignty Anchor, a 3-step field boundary protocol that takes 3 minutes and can be done anywhere, and the 21-day activation calendar, which gives you a specific practice and a specific affirmation for every day of 3 consecutive weeks. It is not more theory. It is the daily structure that takes what you just heard and makes it actionable in the specific texture of your real life. First pinned comment. Subscribe to Truth Frequency so the next transmission finds you. Share this with one person whose life has been asking these same questions without a name for them. And leave your name, your city, and one word in the comments. The protocol that just landed heaviest. Say it below. You are not the only one carrying it. Protocol 4 is financial, and I want to say it exactly the way Ashtar transmitted it because the softened version loses the mechanism. He said, the financial compression of the ground crew is one of the most precisely engineered aspects of the suppression architecture currently active on this planet. Not a coincidence of circumstance. Not a spiritual test about non-attachment to material things. An engineered condition. The souls carrying the clearest missions in this transition are disproportionately the ones living with chronic financial instability. And that disproportion is not accidental. A person who is genuinely worried about how they will cover next month's obligations does not have the interior bandwidth to process a frequency shift. The system knew this. It has been using it for a very long time. The resolution Ashtar named for Protocol 4 is not winning the lottery. It is breaking the internal agreement that says financial instability is your permanent condition. That agreement has a specific moment of installation, usually in childhood, usually from watching someone you trusted live inside a version of the same story. The moment you identify that installation and consciously revoke it, not as positive thinking, but as a field command to the suppression architecture that you no longer consent to the condition it requires. The financial frequency begins to shift. It does not shift because you said the right words. It shifts because the revocation is genuine and the field registers genuine. Protocol 5 is the one Ashtar named with the longest transmission window of any of the 7. He called it purpose fragmentation, the specific and painful experience of knowing, in the deepest part of yourself, that you are here for something significant, and living in a daily life that bears almost no visible relationship to that something. You feel the mission. You have felt it for years, possibly for decades, and yet Monday arrives and the mission is not in it. Tuesday arrives. The mission is still somewhere in the distance, waiting for the conditions to improve enough that you can finally turn your full attention toward it. Ashtar said, that distance is the most successful suppression delivery system in the entire architecture, because it uses the ground crew's own sense of responsibility against them. The mission gets deferred in the name of everything that deserves to come first, and the system built the world to ensure that the list of things that deserve to come first never runs out. Here is what I have come to see. Having sat with these 5 protocols before this transmission, the suppression of the ground crew was never random, it was mapped. Someone, something, looked at the specific population of souls that came here to hold the frequency through the transition, identified the 7 areas where their energy would be most concentrated if unobstructed, and engineered precise obstacles for each one. The financial compression for Protocol 4, the mission deferral architecture for Protocol 5, the relational tension with the people who matter most for Protocol 1. These are not life's natural difficulties. They are targeted interventions against a specific population at a specific moment in planetary history. Recognizing them as such is the first act of sovereignty. Protocol 6. Ashtar named it the uncleared record. Every soul that has moved through this particular Earth experience, through the history of suppression, through the accumulated density of what this planet has been asked to carry, carries residue from things that happened, things that were done, things that were witnessed, that were never fully processed. Not trauma in the clinical sense necessarily, though sometimes that. More precisely, the specific emotional charges from specific moments in your life that are still active in your field, because they were never fully metabolized. The relationship that ended badly, and that you said you were over, but that your body still registers when a certain kind of person walks into a room. The moment in childhood when you understood that the world was not what you had been told it was. The wound that was not dramatic enough to qualify as a wound by anyone else's standard, but that has shaped every significant choice you have made since the moment it occurred. These charges do not dissolve with time. They accumulate. And Ashtar said they are among the primary reasons fifth-dimensional frequency cannot stabilize in an otherwise prepared field. Protocol 7 is the last one, and I want to give it the space it deserves because Ashtar returned to it twice during the transmission, which he does not do. He called it the unspoken truth. The specific thing you know about your life, about this world, about what is actually happening on this planet, about who you actually are, that you have never said out loud to another human being. Not because you lack the words, because the social cost of saying it has always appeared too high. Because the people around you do not have the framework to receive it without flinching. Because there is an entire layer of your understanding of reality that exists in permanent interior silence, never voiced, never confirmed, never shared. And Ashtar said, that silence is a frequency suppressor of the first order. The unspoken truth does not need an audience. It needs to leave your body as sound. Say it alone, in your car, in the dark. The field registers the voicing. The liberation is in the speaking, not in who hears it. I want to give you something concrete before we go further. A woman I will call Sandra from Texas wrote to this channel several months ago. She said, I have known for 4 years that I am supposed to have a direct conversation with my sister about something that happened between us a long time ago. Every time I get close, I find a reason that this is not the right week. The week before the holidays. The week she was going through something difficult. The week I was going through something difficult, she said, I do not think I am afraid of having the conversation. I think I am afraid of who I will become when the conversation is finished, and I can no longer use the unresolved situation as the reason I have not moved forward. Sandra was not describing a personal failing. She was describing the suppression architecture functioning with surgical precision. The unresolved relationship was not the problem. The unresolved relationship was the anchor, and the system understood that as long as that anchor held, every downstream protocol would stay frozen. Now hear what Ashtar said about the timeline. He was specific in a way I want to give you without reducing it to something more comfortable than it is. He said, "The window in which the 7 protocols can be initiated with sufficient field effect to place a soul in the leading wave of the transition is measurable. It is not infinite. The frequency gap between the 3rd dimensional field and the 5th dimensional field is widening every month. As it widens, the energy required to cross it increases. There will come a point," and Ashtar dated this not in calendar years but in energetic cycles tied to solar activity, "when the gap exceeds what an unprepared field can bridge without external intervention. That point is not today, but it is not distant in the way most people are allowing themselves to believe it is." Ashtar transmitted something in the last cycle that I have been sitting with for days before saying it out loud. He said, "The ground crew members who have begun even one protocol, not finished it, begun it, have already crossed out of the suppression architecture's primary targeting range. One protocol in motion is the threshold, not completion, not spiritual perfection, the decision to begin." And then he named the one weapon the system still has. Not darkness, not force. Time. The feeling that you have more of it than you do. The internal voice that sounds exactly like wisdom and says, "Not yet. Wait until conditions improve. Handle that when you have more capacity." Ashtar called that voice the most effective suppression tool ever deployed against the human ground crew. It does not threaten, it reassures. And it has been keeping the protocols frozen in millions of fields for decades. The Arcturian sphere confirmed what that suppression sounds like at the body level. And I want to give you this because several of you have been experiencing it without a name for it. They said, when a protocol is on the verge of initiation, when the field is genuinely close to beginning the movement that Protocol 1 or Protocol 5 requires, the body generates a specific response that the mind interprets as a signal to stop. Fatigue that arrives precisely when you are about to have the conversation. A sudden mood shift that makes the action feel impossible in that particular moment. A surge of low-grade dread with no identifiable object. The Arcturians called these responses suppression flares, the architecture's last resort mechanism when delay alone is no longer sufficient to prevent protocol initiation. They are not real signals from your body about genuine danger. They are manufactured resistance timed to the exact moment when the protocol is closest to beginning. Recognizing them as manufactured changes everything about how you respond to them. The Syrian Brotherhood transmitted something about the 7 protocols that I want to include here, because it carries a weight that changes how you understand what you are being asked to do. They said, "These 7 protocols have appeared before. Every civilization that has stood at a planetary threshold of this magnitude has identified the same 7 areas as the locations where personal field liberation either completes or collapses. The Egyptians encoded them in their initiation preparation. The Mayans built them into the cycle calendar as the 7 stations of the soul. Every time a civilization reaches the moment this one has reached, the same 7 areas become the decisive terrain. And every time, the suppression architecture of that civilization, whatever form it took, found ways to make those 7 areas feel too large, too personal, too expensive to address before the window closed. This is not the first time these protocols have been transmitted. It is the first time they have been transmitted to a population with this level of prior preparation. You arrived here already knowing more than any previous generation of ground crew knew at this stage. The protocols are not new to your soul, they are new to your conscious awareness. I want to name something the Pleiadian High Council added to this transmission, and I want to name it with the warmth they carry, because not everything in this communication needs to land as urgency. They said, "Beloved ground crew, the people around you who have not yet understood what you understand are not your burden, and they are not your obstacle. They are the reason you came. You did not come to the fifth dimension first and then come back to explain it. You came into the same world they inhabit, experienced the same density, faced the same suppression, and found your way to what you found your way to anyway. That path is the credential. The protocols are not asking you to leave the people who don't understand. They are asking you to stop allowing the unresolved charge between you and those people, to anchor your field in a timeline that is closing. Resolve the charge. Stay connected to the people. The two are not in conflict. Here is what Ashtar said when the 7 protocols had all been named. He said, "I am transmitting this now because the window of maximum leverage is open. Not because the situation is hopeless if you wait. Because the return on protocol initiation is higher right now than it will be at any subsequent point in this cycle. The energy currently moving through the planetary field is the most protocol-supportive energy this planet has received in recorded history. The solar activity of the last 18 months has been recalibrating human nervous systems specifically for the frequency shift that protocol completion produces. The cosmic alignments of the current period are amplifying the field effects of every genuine act of resolution. This is the moment that was planned for, and the planning was done by intelligences who knew exactly what they were doing when they arranged for this particular window to coincide with this particular transmission, reaching this particular audience. The transition to the fifth dimensional Earth is not going to look like what the movies imagined. It is not going to be an event that everyone witnesses simultaneously, that is impossible to deny, that resolves every question in a single moment of collective revelation. It is going to look, and in many ways already looks, like the world splitting along a frequency line that most people cannot see. On one side, the fields that initiated the protocols, cleared the anchors, voiced the unspoken truths, resolved the outstanding issues, set the withheld missions in motion. On the other side, the fields that kept waiting for the right moment. The two groups will inhabit the same physical geography. They will move through the same cities and the same neighborhoods and the same family gatherings. But the reality they experience within that shared geography will be increasingly different, because the frequency they are operating at will be increasingly different. That is the transition. It is already happening. You can feel it in the difference between your best days and your worst days, in how radically different the same room can feel, depending on the frequency your field is running at when you enter it. I want to say something about Protocol 1 that I have been sitting with since the beginning of this transmission, and I want to say it directly. The person you thought of when Protocol 1 was named, the family member, the old friend, the colleague, the partner, has been in your field this entire time. Not symbolically, energetically. The unresolved charge between your field and theirs is a living connection, running in the background of everything else you are doing. Every creative effort you have put toward Protocol 2. Every attempt to address Protocol 3 with your body. Every morning you have tried to find your way toward purpose. That unresolved connection has been a quiet tax on all of it. Not because the person is wrong or because you owe them anything. Because unresolved charges do not dissolve with distance or with time. They persist until they are consciously addressed. Ashtar named Protocol 1 first for a reason. It is the primary anchor for the largest number of ground crew fields. And clearing it creates a downstream liberation in the other 6 protocols that no other single action produces. If everything this transmission has named is landing in your body as recognition, if you are feeling not just understanding but the specific weight of specific unresolved things in your specific life, then the guide in the first pinned comment below was built for the step that comes after this moment. What the Galactic Federation wants you to know contains the 3 types of lightworker: anchor, bridge, transmuter, which will tell you not only that your presence in this transition is real, but what specific function you are here to serve. It contains the 5 daily practices, including the sovereignty anchor and the light anchor, which give the protocols a daily container so that initiation is not dependent on extraordinary willpower on any given morning. And it contains the 21-day activation calendar, 21 specific days, each with a theme, a practice, and an affirmation, so that the direction you have chosen today has a structure to live inside tomorrow. First pinned comment: subscribe to Truth Frequency. Put this transmission in front of someone whose life is asking these questions. Someone who has been feeling the shift without a map for what to do with it. And leave your name, your city, and one sentence in the comments. The protocol you are committing to begin. Not finish. Begin. Write it below. The field registers the declaration. The moment you name it out loud in a place where it can be witnessed, the protocol has already started. You are not watching this transmission from a position of someone who missed something. You are watching it from exactly the position Ashtar intended, with the full map in front of you, the window open, and every reason to begin now. The protocols are clear, the timeline is real, and the part of you that knew this transmission was important the moment you found it was right. Begin today.